Hey, friends, welcome back to the podcast. It's me this week, and I want to talk about a subject that's kind of heavy. Um, I'm in a mastermind group, and I did a video, a live on my Instagram about this, and several people had comments about it. And I just thought it would be also a really powerful, helpful episode to have on the podcast. Um, in mastermind this week, one of my mastermind friends was talking about, you know, she helps moms go after their goals. And she was like, what's the point? Like in light of this week's event, so Twitch, I don't know if you guys, I really wasn't aware of him, but they all knew him. He was a DJ and dancer on Ellen DeGeneres, and him and his uh, wife have an Instagram account where they have tons of viral videos of them dancing, and they look really happy. And he committed suicide this week at the age of 40. And people are really shocked and devastated, on the outside. It like he had life by its tail, right? He looked happy and he, very successful. And so my mastermind buddy was talking about what are we even coaching over? Like this doesn't even matter. Look, things like this happen in the world. And I love her sweetheart for that. And like a lot of people ask why does this happen? And I think a lot of us feel very powerless. What do we do? Like we have things set up, like there's therapists and there's suicide hotlines, and we should have recognized the signs, and like we could have done something differently to change this person's mind. And it feels very powerless, and it's super uncomfortable for us, right? And the idea of someone taking their own life is very tragic. And the subject, I've never shied away from it. I don't hide my life's journey from you guys. I refused a long time ago to hide in shame. I realized that I was a human having a human experience, and it doesn't make me any less than. It just makes me a really honest person about being human. And so I just had some thoughts I wanted to share with you guys over suicide. Because a lot of people are not, that fortunately that's not been part of their human experience, and it's confusing and it leaves us with a lot of questions. I just happen to be a human that has had a very intimate experience with it. And so I just wanted to give you guys some things that might help shed some light and help you understand. Knowing in context, this is my story, this is my experience. I do not represent all humans in the world, right? We all have a very different human experience. And there'll be other people that have stories with suicide that have a very different experience than me. So I can only speak on my experience. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. So, a lot of people think with suicide that, the people that are experiencing suicide ideation and struggling with it are, super depressed, holed up in their home, and they're having these thoughts that I don't matter. No one cares about me. I don't matter. My life doesn't matter. And in my experience, those weren't the thoughts that I struggled with. And I think the other people think that like we don't um like we just haven't been feeling our emotions, and then it just becomes overwhelming. And I think for a lot of us it was, we felt every fucking one of those emotions, and they were overwhelming, and it felt like they were never going to change, right? For me, I wasn't avoiding emotions. I felt all the fucking emotions, and they felt awful. Excuse me. They felt overwhelming, and they felt like they were never going to change and never go away. And nor did I have these thoughts that like my life doesn't matter, nobody cares about me, no one loves me, it doesn't matter whether I'm here or not. I didn't have these thoughts like it's better for the world to be without me, though. And some people do. That just was not my journey. Um, the thought that took me to my knees and landed me in the psych hospital for suicide, ideation, and I had a plan and I had a means with an intent, and I was no longer in control really of my brain. Um, because the thought that was consuming my brain that day, which would have been, I can't remember the exact date, but like December 27th, somewhere in there, right after Christmas, was it's never going to change. My life is never going to change. No matter what I do, no matter what successes I earn, no matter what no matter what degrees I earn, what job I have, what partner I'm with, how hard I try, it's never gonna change. I'm always going to feel this way. I'm always gonna experience life this way, and it's never gonna be different. And it just wasn't available for that anymore. I was 30, I just turned 36 years old, and I'd lived enough life at that point that it was like, I am not available to do another 40 years of this. Like, this is awful. I just constantly felt, of course, I was depressed. Of course, I was suffering from anxiety at that point, and just this hopelessness that no matter what I try, no matter what I do, I'm just always going to feel this like deep sense of it's not enough, and I'm not happy, and um I'm not in charge of my life. Like, I'm at the mercy of other humans, at circumstances. I was at the mercy of God, his kindness and compassion, that I couldn't have what I wanted in life, no matter how hard I tried. And I was just going to continue to live life in this disappointed, hopeless state. Um, and I had no power of changing it. And that's hopeless, you know? When you get to that state, no wonder suicide is the answer, right? Who wants to live like that? Who wants to live feeling out of control, and that you don't have a say in your life, and that you're just at the mercy of at the world, of humans, of God, and that you have no ability to change things. It's awful. It is. And I have so much compassion for that Kim. Like, I totally get how um she could have felt that way. And when you do have those thoughts, your brain then regulates its dopamine production. And dopamine is what makes us feel good, right? And it also helps motivate us. And now my body has down regulated the production of dopamine. Of course, I'm not sleeping um, very well. And so my serotonin's off, my dopamine's off, and now I physically have a state of depression. And my thought loops are then feeding into that physical state, and the physical state is then creating thought loops. So for me, it makes total sense how humans can go there. There's only so much that we can take, right? Of living in hopelessness and feeling so disempowered to make any changes in our lives. And so I, I think when we can understand that, and that's somewhat how the human brain works in those states, we can get a better understanding and then how to help people. You know, I know that we as humans are trying by having these suicide hotlines, and perhaps for some people it works. For me, that was just never like, why? Why would I call that number so I can hear another therapist give me some trite advice that your life matters, you matter? At that point, you don't give a fuck what other people want, think, or need, right? They're not the ones having to wake up in that misery day in and day out, you know? Um, and to like listen to another person and thinks they're trying to help tell me like it's gonna get better, right? Like, or you know, this is not the answer. Well, it is the fucking answer, right? In that state, when you're in that state of mind, it is the fucking answer. It When you feel so helpless in your life to make any changes, it feels like the ultimate answer because it's the only thing you feel like you have control over. Um, and so it's like I mean, I'm not advocating don't have a suicide hotline, but just the idea of it is like, okay, I'm gonna call that, like, and you're gonna give me this, like, information, but you're not gonna give me any fucking tools, right? And that was the same for me in therapy, right? Like, you go in week after week, you talk about what's going on, you process all of the past, all the trauma from the past, right? Great, great. How about today? How about tomorrow? That's what I need help with. I need some fucking tools to help me deal with today, help me deal with tomorrow, because talking about this shit and not having any tools to deal with emotions or feel empowered in my life changes nothing for me, right? I'm still living the same shitty existence day in and day out, the same shitty thoughts that I feel so disempowered to change. S And so that's why for me, I was just like, this isn't working. I've shown up. I had 6 therapists, to be honest with you guys. So there are like this idea that we don't ask for help. I was fucking asking for help, right? Like over the course of like 12 years, I don't even remember now. Like I had 6 different therapists and I still ended up in a place in the psych hospital for suicide. And I'm not saying therapy doesn't work and we shouldn't go to therapy. Don't hear me say that. But I do think that we're doing a disservice to people by not giving them tools, by not teaching them that, you know what? Like, if somebody would have taught me way back when that my emotions are created by me, it would have been so empowering for me because I thought all my emotions came from outside of me, from all the fucking humans that won't act like I want them to act, from all the circumstances that I couldn't change. So of course, then I'm left to be in this like victim mindset that I have no control over my life. I have no control over my destiny. I can't even control my emotions, right? And so if somebody had taught me, like, hey, Kim, your thoughts chemically create an emotion. And your emotions are driving your actions, and your actions are creating the results in your life. So if you don't like these results, we got to go back to your thoughts. Oh, and by the way, you have a shit ton of thoughts that are not true. Most of the thoughts that are rolling through your head, Kim, aren't true. They're subjective interpretation of reality. They're your brain making a lot of assumptions and guesses and predictions about things. It's also your brain like looking for evidence to validate some shitty ass beliefs that you have in there. And by the way, beliefs are just thoughts that you've repeated over and over again. They're not even based in reality. So you really should start questioning your thoughts, Kim, you know, because they're not real. I know you think that your brain is just reporting the weather to you, just like a news channel factual thing or something. Not true. Facts are provable in a court of law, or all the humans would agree on them. So start checking your thoughts because I was believing all my thoughts, right? All my thoughts that were telling me, like, it's never going to change. No matter what you do, your life is never going to change. You're going to feel this way for the rest of your life. I really honestly believe that thought. That thought felt so real. Why did it feel so real? Because my reticular activating system in my brain was spending all of its time looking for evidence to prove that was true. And it would interpret events in my life to show me, like, see, doesn't matter what you do, still going to feel this way. Things don't change for you. You're going to feel hopeless. You're going to feel disappointed. You're going to feel like you have no ability to change your life. No matter how much you change it, no matter how many circumstances you change, no matter what state you move to, what job you have, what boss you have, you're still going to feel this deep, deep dissatisfaction and unfulfillment in your life. And I believe it. I didn't know. I didn't know that my thoughts were not reality. I didn't know my thoughts then were chemically creating my emotions. I just thought I was observing the world, and that I was feeling all these emotions because it's how, the people weren't loving me, or they weren't treating me well, or I had a terrible boss, or whatever, right? And so when we can understand that, I feel like when we can take that tool and teach the humans, you know what? That sense of not belonging, that sense of hopelessness, that sense of there's something missing, that isn't external. That's an internal. That's your brain offering you up some shitty thoughts that are not even based in reality. So no matter what you do, no matter what amount of success that you create, just like that, just like Twitch, right? He's famous. I'm sure he's making millions of dollars. And I'm sure his brain is offering up, look at the success we have created. We have this amazing life. I'm successful in my industry. I have this wife, right? And yet I still feel hopeless on the inside. I still feel this sense of sadness and disappointment. I still don't like myself. What do I have to do? I've done all these things and I still feel these shitty emotions. It's not going to change no matter what I do. And I don't know, right? I don't know him. I don't know what he was thinking. But it makes a logical sense to me, right? The more success that you gain, if these things aren't dealt with inside of us, it gets more and more discouraging. Like, what else do I have to do? I've done all the things and I still feel this way. But if we can teach the humans, like, look, yeah, changing your circumstances, it doesn't change the emotions because the emotions don't come from the circumstances. It's your thoughts. And maybe your brain's offering you some shitty thoughts that are like not even true. I wonder if it could have been different for him. It was different for me. The psych hospital was an awful experience. It was not helpful at all. People that go there, in my experience, are not treated well. And I have talked to another practitioner that worked in a different psych hospital, and she said the same thing. Um, patients are not treated well. We were not treated with respect. Um, but I will tell you the two things that I got from my psych hospital visit. One is I got perspective. I realized that I was not as depressed as I thought I was. And it's easy to do that when you're in that circumstance, right? When you have people sitting to the left and right of you, and this dude, due to his PTSD, is self-medicated with meth. I'm pretty sure he tried to commit suicide by doing as much meth as possible. And then I had the lady sitting next to me on the other side of me who had cancer, and the chemo, which, by the way, side note, totally fucks with your brain. Um, the chemo told her, because it impacted her brain and her ability to think, that she was ugly and that she was never going to be pretty again. And so she took a fillet knife and stabbed herself. And you realize in that moment, I'm not as depressed as I thought I was. My life is not as shitty as I thought it was. So with that perspective, when I got out after my 5 days and I left that facility, I knew if I want a different life, I have to take responsibility for mine. I have to take full responsibility for it. It's mine, right? No God, no being, no deity, no other human, no therapist, no husband, no parent, no one can save me. If I want a different life, it's fully on me. And that changed my life. To have that perspective and to then be able to go to the thought, no one is coming to save me. If I want a different life, it's fully on me and I have to take responsibility for my life. And from there, I did. You know, I knew that therapy wasn't working for me and that it was time for me to take responsibility for my life, to stop being a victim. And I didn't know what the next steps would be, but I'll tell you what, I went to work to figure it out. So I was reading this book. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to change my life. I was tired of living paycheck to paycheck. I was tired of being constantly disappointed and unfulfilled. I was tired of doing what society told me to do to find happiness. It didn't fucking work. So I was reading a book, How to Be a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. And basically my brain interpreted the book. If you want to be successful, get a coach. I didn't know where that was. I didn't know where to find that. Here I am in small town Oklahoma. Coaches are not in abundance. I will tell you that right now. So I just Googled it and I found Brooke Castillo's podcast, the Life Coach School podcast. Listen to the first 2 episodes. Like, this is like the secrets to the universe. This is life changing, the model. To know that circumstances outside of me are neutral and I have a thought about that circumstance, and that thought creates my emotions, and my emotions drive my actions, and my actions create the results in my life. And if I want a different result, I have to go back to the thought line. It's fucking the keys to the universe. Set them in. I'm here for that. Signed up, studied under that woman for 2 years, watched every video that she has in her vault, went to every coaching call. I went to work to understand my brain and how it worked, how to manage my brain, how to manage my emotions. And it completely changed my life. I don't struggle with depression. I don't struggle with anxiety. I have not. So I started having suicide ideation at 13, all the way up until 36 when I got out of the psych hospital. And when I left, I knew I will never return there. I will never go back to another hospital ever again. And since that decision, I don't even struggle with suicide ideation. I've never had a thought of it since. And keep in mind, I had 20 plus years of struggling with thoughts of that. I have just a new brain, right? I manage my brain. I understand when shitty thoughts come in that they're not necessarily true. So do they serve me or not? And I take responsibility for that, right? It's my brain. I manage it. If I don't want to feel an emotion, then I have to go find a different thought. But most of the time, I just choose to feel the emotion. And I understand, like, oh, this emotion is created by thought. It's a chemical vibration in my body. It'll stay as long as I allow it to stay. If I just experience and feel it, it's going to dissipate and move on. Or if I ruminate on the same thoughts around that, I'm going to continue to create that same emotion over and over. I just make a decision. Do I want to do that or do I not? Right? And I think that that's what we have to understand when we're working, when we are not necessarily working, but we're being a human living amongst the other humans. And some of us humans happen to struggle with suicide ideation and suicide. To understand, it's no one else's job to save them. That's on them. That's on you if you're someone that struggles with it. It is your job to take responsibility for your life. And if you want something different, then it's going to be your responsibility to go find the different. I'm not saying we don't help people. Of course, we help people, right? But we also have to honor and respect it. Like, humans have to take responsibility for their lives. And they have to want to change to actually change. No one could have ever made me change, right? No one could have done it for me. I had to reach rock bottom to realize, like, shit, this is all on me. It's not my parents' responsibility to change, like change and tell me how much they love me. And then that fixes things, right? It's not a boyfriend or a husband's responsibility to love me enough to heal my wounds. Like, no, this shit's on me. It's my life. It's my responsibility. I think how we help people that are struggling is to give them the tools that they can have hope. They need to know that they can change. They need to know that change is possible for them. And it's not little trite sayings like, well, everything's always changing or it gets better. Yeah, fuck you. I'm living the experience right now and it's awful, right? That's kind of where we go. But it's like, okay, you know what? You're feeling this. Let me introduce you to this very intense woman. She'll teach you the model. She'll teach you how your brain works. Or you study enough, you can just be like, look, here's the model. Your thoughts are creating your emotions. Your emotions are driving your action. Your actions are creating your results. If you don't want to feel these emotions, we got to look at your thoughts then. And by the way, most of your thoughts aren't true. I think when people truly understand that, they have hope then. They have hope that they can change, that it gets to be different for them because then they feel in control. Well, shit, I'm creating this. This is me, not outside of me. I can change that. I can do something different with that. But when we believe it's like we're broken or this is just like your brain, just a genetic inheritance, or you had this traumatic event, so it's kind of be like this bullshit on that. We feel hopeless. I can't change that shit. Or we go to the religious side, right? Like God will fix it. God will hit. Well, I may be a little offensive here. Well, fuck that. I can't control God. I can't control what he's going to do, what he's not going to do. And I'm not saying that I'm not arguing anything for religion. So if it offends you, I apologize. But that is not helpful for people that are struggling with hopelessness. We have to pull all the power back to them. They have to take their power back. They have to see, like, you are in charge of your life. And everything that's happened in your life, it's results that have come from some model that you've created, right? As harsh as that sounds, but empowering people is how we protect people from suicide. That is my answer to it. I may be wrong. It's how I have never looked back. I'll tell you that. When I realized I had like I was in control of my life, that I got to have different results and that I was in charge of creating them because my thoughts were what were creating them, and that all my emotions came from me and I felt in control of my life. Then I felt like, well, I can change some shit then because I have control. And it's not necessarily about control, it's about empowerment, feeling empowered in your life to make changes. That's what depression is. So, depression is the emotion that comes from I've tried so many things and it doesn't work. And then we get depressed, right? Because our brain says we've tried everything and it's not working. So we just kind of give up because it doesn't work. That's the message the depression sends, right? And then we have those thoughts like, it's not working. I've tried all these things, it's not working. And then our brain starts down regulating its production of dopamine. So then we chemically show up and present as depressed, right? But when we can empower people in their journey and stop feeling sorry for them and stop trying to change them and doing the work for them, but we empower them. We respect them as a human deity, that they are a human being and they can make change in their lives. And we believe in them. We believe they can do it. And we support them and encourage them. Then they can start seeing in themselves, like, maybe I can change. Maybe, like, I am in charge of my life. And then it gets to be different because I'm going to start doing different things. I'm going to start thinking differently. And I'm going to go find help for myself. So I just wanted to give this perspective. So maybe perhaps we'll have a different perspective on suicide, and the people that suffer from that. Uh, I just truly believe that it takes someone to believe in you and believe in your potential and believe in your ability to change your own life and help you on when you decide, like, all right, I'm I'm going to change my life, and come alongside you and be your biggest cheerleader. That's what changes lives, right? That's what moves us away from that being the end all be all decision and the only way out. Because really, desperately deep down, most of us that are struggling with that is because we don't think we have the power to change our lives. We don't think we have the power to create something different, that it's just always going to be like this. And it's just we're tired of it. So I hope that's a different perspective for you guys and helps empower you as you, if you're struggling with it or you know someone that is, um, that, some actual tangible tools to like start moving in a different direction, right? That it's all about seeing that you have the power to change your life because your thoughts are creating everything, and that you've got to take responsibility for your life. If you want something different, you have to take responsibility to be the change because no one can make you think certain thoughts. It's going to be on you to start thinking different thoughts. Um, so yeah, reach out if you guys have questions. I'm always here to be honest, uh and remember, your thoughts are creating everything. So if you want something different, you're going to have to start questioning those thoughts that your brain's offering you because most of them are not based in facts. I'll catch you on the next episode, friends.